A very good morning to everybody present here, the teachers, the children, the parents, in an amazing initiative by Unacademy, India's best learning app today. Thank you so much to all the panelists. Thank you so much to our moderator for giving us all this time today. And yes, we are also going to be streaming this live on YouTube, and we've shared the link all across Facebook and other channels. You can surely send it to your close ones to watch us live. Well, I will just take this privilege to introduce our moderator for today. Dr. Kanan Girish, well, a world renowned psychiatrist and CEO of Live Life Education. He's one of the most renowned child and adolescent psychiatrists in India who works extensively with schools through his Leader in Me program. Well, he helps principals, teachers, and he helps parents inculcate leadership principles and values into the culture of the school. He has worked with renowned Harvard psychologists such as Jack Canfield, Daniel Amin, Michael Jensen. For his work in education, he has received the prestigious National Award of Excellence in 2017 by the then President of India, Sri Pranab Mukherjee. He was the youngest in the world to be awarded the Unicorn by Times of India for his leadership. I welcome Dr. Kanan Girish. Thank you so much for giving us all the time, and it's all over to you, sir.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Sushil. And I think you can stop screen share. I think Pratima wants to. Yeah, yeah. So very good morning to all of y'all. It's a great Sunday morning, and I can see so many of you have come over here, and so many of you are excited to learn a lot about the new schooling, the new normal, which is virtual schooling. So now, let me ask before we start off onto this, I would love to know from where all of you have come from. So can you all type out your city, which city you're from on the chat box? If you can all type out your city on the chat box so we can get a correlate of where are you all coming from. So Bangalore, Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, Delhi, Kolkata, Delhi. So I think it is pan-India. We are having a pan-India group of people. Chennai, Delhi, Aurangabad, Sholinganallur. Oh, yeah. Oh, wonderful. A lot of our Leader in Me schools are over here. Brilliant. Sholinganallur, Aurangabad. Yes, brilliant. Awesome. So I think we are from all over India, and we are from all over I think we are from everywhere. I think DPS, Noida, everyone is there. Good Shepherd is there. Oh, wonderful. Judy ma'am, welcome ma'am. Yes, brilliant. Ramat sir, yes, everybody is there. Mailadurai, oh, wonderful. Puri ma'am from Coimbatore is also there. Brilliant. Awesome. So we have a great crowd of people. So before we start off the panel and I start introducing the panels, I just started with a context. I just would love to set a context with everybody. Virtual schooling. If you asked me 6 months back to do a webinar like this or a panel discussion like this on virtual schooling, I don't think anybody would have turned up. Leave alone the panelists, even the normal people you wouldn't have turned up. Today we have almost close to 2,000 registrations for this because why? Sometimes they say that, change is sometimes so inevitable that it is right there in front of us. There is no choice but to become that change. And today, Corona has made that to happen to everybody. All of us are thinking like that. As a psychiatrist, I am now become a virtual psychiatrist. I never in my dream thought that I will be counseling depression and anxiety across the world through the computer camera that I have in front of me. But today, that has become my new normal. And that has become the new normal for, I think, millions of children, if not billions of children who are studying all across the world in different schools, different environments where the online education has started to reach them in these times of crisis, where the world is going through, I would say, a restructure wherein which our normal way of living life has been completely affected by this pandemic. But we as educators really want to stand and say the education of children should not be affected. And that is what this whole virtual schooling has taken up a whole new differential meaning. And here, though there are a lot of pluses and minuses to this, one thing we should all understand, we should give it up for all the teachers from across the country and across the world who are readapting themselves. Some are been in for 30 years, 40 years who are readapting. Some 3 to 4 years who are readapting. In fact, many school principals and teachers have become like kids today. They are learning about YouTube. They are learning about chatting. They are learning about connecting. And yesterday I had a call with Sharda ma'am. She was telling me, oh, I learned how to use the chat box. I was so excited, doctor. So, all of us as educators itself, I can see the kid in all of us have started coming out. With Chandrasekhar sir, Dakshayani ma'am, Pratima ma'am, who's always very, very energetic with kindergarten kids. I think all of them have come together. And what we intend to do today is to talk about the virtual schooling. How did it evolve? What are we doing? How is it going to go? Because this is a question that's running in millions and millions of parents, children, teachers. How long is this going to be? Will it be as effective as what it used to be in offline? What do you think is this paradigm going to shift? Will more and more children go for fully virtual? Or will children want to come back to offline, online? Or offline and start interchanging? And another very, very important question that's running in everybody's mind is, how long will this continue? And in fact, I was very touched by a child of first standard. This child came up to me and called me and said, Dad, sir, all through my last 2 years, my parents have been always telling me, don't be in computer, don't be in cell phone, don't be in computer more than half an hour. Today, they are telling me you have to learn in that only. Go, learn. Teacher is telling, teacher is talking. So the whole dialogue of education has now started to change. And I think that's what is the new normal today, is what we hope for. And let's look at all the pros, what we need to learn, what we need to unlearn. And I think this is the area where unlearning and relearning is going to be the norm. And the world is changing, jobs are changing, the whole configuration of jobs are changing. So how do we prepare our children for a new normal? And that's what we have some of the most fabulous educators over here on the panel. I would start off with welcoming one and all of you over here who have come up all the way to spend time on a Sunday morning. And then to this wonderful panelist of educationists, starting from Sharda ma'am, Chandrasekhar sir, Dr. Dakshayani ma'am, and Pratibha Sinha ma'am, all renowned educationists from across the country who have had a collective experience of more than 150 to 200 years in education. And they are really going to give their knowledge out to you, from the evolution and to what virtual schooling and what they are doing in their wonderful schools. So just before we go on to invite the panelists, I'd like to just give a brief introduction of each of the panelists. Starting with Sharda Chandrasekhar ma'am. She has 39 years, including 30 years as principal and director in premier schools, starting from DPS Vizag, Air Force School, Coimbatore, to International School, Bharati Vidyapeetham in Navi Mumbai, to now being the director of Whitefield Global School. A very, very passionate woman who has designed, developed, and documented school quality managements, designed assessments, designed and developed documented quality formats for syllabus, created and developed brands for school. And during her tenure, she has been by many institutions and has received many national and international awards in curricular and extracurricular activities. And yesterday when I had a call with her, oh my God, she is the person, I think she's growing in the reverse age group, Though she says 39 years in education, I think she's like a 9-year-old child of the enthusiasm that was there yesterday when she spoke. Ma'am, welcome you, ma'am. Sharda, ma'am, it's a great honor and privilege for us to be here with you and share your great wisdom, ma'am. Thank you. Next is a wonderful gentleman. He is energetic, way energetic. When I see him, even I get energy. Chandrasekhar sir of JGI Schools. He has 16 years of experience in the education space, and he serves as the CEO of a Jain Group of Institutions. He's a Rex Karamir Global Education Chain Champion Fellow of 2019 and was ranked 7th in Education World's ranking of 33 young rising stars of Indian education in March 2017. He's also currently on the CII YI National Management Team. He has been a fast chair of the Hyderabad chapter of CII. He's a TEDx speaker and a President's Distinguished District Director of Toastmasters International. He's an alumni of IIM Lucknow and represented India at the International Visitor Leadership. And he's on a mission mode to impact 1 million children through its work. And I think he's a person, I can tell you, we did a workshop together on 7 habits of highly effective families, which I was able to lead. And I can tell you, he was learning like a child. He was taking notes. He was applying. I was asking him, why are you taking so much of interest? He said, I want to be a great father myself, sir. Then only I can give it to my children. So I think that is the level of passion Chandrasekhar has. It's a great honor and privilege, sir, to have you over here, Chandrasekhar, sir, to share your wisdom and knowledge in this. And Dr. Dakshayani Khanna, ma'am. She's a B.Ed from Bangalore University, Cambridge University certified for teaching in ICSE and A-levels. She has helped set up many K-12s and IGCSE, IB and CBSE schools. I think in Bangalore city, if you don't know Dakshayani ma'am, then you don't know education in Bangalore city. That's how she is so well known in Bangalore for her work that she does. Everyone I speak to about her, I've not had the chance to meet her in person, but I have been to her school, Harvest International. Brilliant school, done with a lot of love, tender and care. A very, very passionate woman who has 32 years of experience in schools, worked for Ministry of Education, Republic of Maldives, conducted career counseling programs, expertise in leadership and teacher training, curriculum development and integration, quality audits and educational institutions, guidance and counseling. I think her knowledge, her expertise and her from a curriculum perspective will be very, very valuable in giving us a very good perspective on how online and virtual education is going to take off. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. It's an honor and privilege to have you over here on as one of our panelists. Welcome, ma'am. And the last, but not the least, you always keep the best for the last, right? Is Pratibha Sinha, ma'am. I had an opportunity 2 years back. I met her at the DSR Education Society in her center. Very, very, very passionate person. She said, first I'll give you 15 minutes for my presentation. She sat in my presentation for 1.5 hours. And there were only 2 people in her presentation. It was me and her. And immediately she was like, the child in her came out. She said, come on, doctor, we should do it. And out of all the school owners, I meet a lot of school owners and I work with them. Pratibha Sinha was the first person. She said, immediately, we are going to do this project. And then, you know, what's the next statement? She said, I will put all my friends onto you. You tell me which and all schools you want. And she started calling. That's the kind of excitement and a giver she is. She's such a giver that she wants everybody who does good work to help each other. That kind of a mindset she has, a wonderful woman. And she has an illustrious career graph that showcases 3 decades of progressive quality experience, a postgraduate in diploma in early childhood education and business English. She has headed schools from CBSE, ICSE, IGCSE and IB programs. So she has a wide range of expertise in that. She has been into curriculum development, academic audit, teacher training, mentoring, monitoring of teams. She has also been a Pearson teacher trainer, certified trainer, and she has received many awards for her exemplary work in the field of education like Mentor, Digital Learning, Brainfeed, Edu Excellence, Education World, to name a few. And one of the things that's so very nice to know about her is that she's also very good in pedagogy and she's a theater performing artist also. And she has been with Nishubita Theater Group. So she will be also telling us how to inculcate probably theater in online education for primary and kindergarten, and would make that very, very, very interesting. Yes. So with this said, I welcome all of you all to this panel. It's a great honor and privilege. So we'll start off first with one of them, where I will be, how the format will work is, I will be talking about certain questions and I will put that question to each of the panelists, different to their areas of expertise. Then after that, we will have a small rapid fire round where I will be asking a question where everyone will be answering. And once that is over, we will open up the panel to questions. You can keep your questions coming on the chat box. I will note down the relevant questions and I will ask to the panelists. So when you put the questions, put it in the Q&A column. So I want you to put it in the Q&A column by saying who you want to address that question to and what is that question. Please put it in the Q&A column so we can directly address you the questions to that particular panelist. Yeah. So we will start off with Sharda ma'am. Sharda ma'am, welcome ma'am. It's a great honor, ma'am. You can unmute yourself. Yeah. So Sharda ma'am, the question that is running in everybody's mind: how do we make online classes a tripartite understanding between schools, parents, and children? How do we bring this together? How can we make this 3 of them more comfortable with online education? And how would this start virtual learning, start becoming the new normal? And how are we as a community of educators and schools looking at how we can bring this into the mainstream and make them all comfortable? So that's what we would like to start with. Over to you, Sharda ma'am, so you can give your views on that. Sushil, can you unmute ma'am? Sushil, can you unmute ma'am? Ma'am, you need to unmute yourself. Sushil, can you unmute ma'am? I think ma'am is not able to unmute herself.
Yeah, she can unmute.
You can unmute ma'am. Just press the unmute.
Yeah, unmute.
Yes,
so good morning to all of you. It's a pleasure meeting you all. First thing I would like to tell is I'm a storyteller, so I want to tell a small story here. it seems one king was given two falcons, and he was told that these two falcons will fly very high if you train them well. So he has given to some trainer, and the trainer came after 15 days and he said, "Sir, this falcon, one falcon is flying very high, the other one is not moving at all." So the king was very surprised and he called many people, asked them to train, but none could train that falcon. Finally, he gave up. He said that, okay, whoever can train this falcon to fly high, I will be really giving them a big award, Then one farmer came and he said, "I'll do it." So next day when the king went there, the falcon was flying very high. So he asked the farmer, "What did you do?" The farmer said, "I didn't do anything. I just cut the branch it is sitting on. It was very comfortably perched on a branch and I have cut it," he said. Now today, the branch we are all comfortably seated on is being cut for everybody. It's not only for the schools, it is for the children, it is for the parents, the whole lot of world. The comfortable branch we are on has been cut. Now we are in deep ocean like a tsunami has come. So either you need to drown or you need to float. If you float, you will be the one who will be writing the history. And if you drown, you will be the history. So the difference is only that. Are you going to be the history or are you going to be the person who is writing the history? So we all decided we will be the ones who want to write the history. So in this background, making the children, making the teachers, making the parents, making the schools ready is a big Herculean task, because it's not that inanimate things. They are all animate things. They are all life. For a teacher, teaching from a class full of life, teaching to a lifeless screen is a challenge. To a child who comes to school not just to learn, but also to nudge, pinch, push, pull, have fun, make fun of, go out and play, and listening, not listening, going back and saying, "I did not understand." This is all growing up. I can talk volumes about my childhood because I went to school. I had friends, my socializing, my emotional quotient all developed there. And today I'm asked to sit within the four walls. My parents sat next to me and I cannot tell any of these things. And I am completely, as a child, is suffocated today. Now, parent, if you look at a parent, the parent himself is working from home, which is the biggest challenge. Second biggest challenge is that not all parents can keep 4 laptops in the house. They can have maximum 2 laptops in the house. And if they have 2 children, now they have to attend to those 2 children and their needs also. So they are also upset. Apart from that, we can't go beyond the 4 walls. So this is the biggest challenge we have. Today we are telling don't touch. As you said, somebody told you. Till yesterday we said don't go see, don't have the screen time. Today we are saying go, sit with the screen time. So in all these things, what we are doing is, first of all, we need to prepare them. Even though we are unprepared, sorry, we need to prepare them. How do you prepare them? So when you are opening the classes, have some kind of orientations with everybody. Accept that the parent is your co-partner. Tell the co-partner, together we can make things happen. Okay, it is not me alone, but you and me together make this learning happen. And give them the responsibility, make them accept their responsibility open-heartedly, and tell them that we are always there, we are not going away, but whenever you have an issue, I'm here on the other side of the screen, waiting for you to come back so that I will help you. This is one. Second thing is, even though this is a 2020 mode of learning, like test matches are gone and one-day internationals are gone, now we got into 2020 mode of learning. So the 2020 mode of learning should have all the 2020 mode of learning, inclusive of the entertainment, inclusive of all the non-scholastic, which makes the child happy. The PT teacher should be seen on the screen. The PT teacher should be talking to the child. The music teacher should be singing through the screen. So what happens? The child also feels happy. Second thing is that recently I was in one panel discussion by somebody else, and one panelist spoke very well. She said that in between, ask the children to just stand up and run here and there. Yeah, just ask them to go and bring some vegetable from the kitchen. This is all only to give them some physical exercises. Tell them to stand in the balcony and come back. So we need to make it more innovative and make it more interesting, make it more involving, more trustworthy, and more trusting. Above all, we are all human beings. And when we are all human beings, we should tell each other it is okay to default. It is okay to make mistakes. We will rectify, we will learn from mistakes. We are not perfect. It's okay. Whatever we are going to learn from each other. If we make this kind of a situation ready, the learning becomes very enjoyable. Online mode has come. It may go on for some time because many people cannot send the children to school because of the fear. So let us make this online learning most enjoyable by building this tripartite understanding well. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, brilliant, ma'am. Brilliant, brilliant. So, ma'am brought out beautifully 2 stories on 2 falcons. Which falcon are we? That's the question that we have to ask ourselves. Which falcon are we? And very beautifully, ma'am spoke on the orientation, how the parents are parties, they are cooperation. So that's the key word here. It's not me against you. It is me and you together. It is the school and the parents together who are standing for the education of the child. That was the highlighting point, ma'am. Very beautifully brought out by Sharda, ma'am. And we need to accept it wholeheartedly, innovate. And I think one nice point that she ended up with is on the trust element. Trust is very important, because if trust is gone, everything is gone. Then after that, you will find it very difficult to actually build it up and build that particular trust. Next, we started out with a view from ma'am on about what is the online education and what are the requirements. Now let's start with the kindergarten. So let's have Pratima ma'am, who heads DSR Education Society, which have a lot of schools with the Brilla Open Minds brand that is there all across in Hyderabad, which has a lot of kindergartens, preschools also that they do. And let's look at, because for me, as such, we always, as a psychiatrist, from the days I was a psychiatry student till today, my advice has been 40 minutes only screen time, 30 to 40 minutes only screen time. Now, suddenly my daughter is coming. Daddy, 3 hours school screen time plus my 45 minutes to 1 hour also. So now it has become 4.5 hours screen time. So I'm also very curious. Now, what do we do? And the second, there was a very big article that had come out saying that in Karnataka, that was there saying that kindergarten schools should not have online education. It's like torturing the schools, the children. And in fact, I saw a couple of parents who are telling me that, the school should pay us fees because we are holding the children and keeping them in front of the screen. So let's look at Pratima ma'am, how she has been handling these issues very, very effectively. What are the areas that they've been focusing on, the kindergarten and primary, and how they engage the children effectively through this virtual schooling. Yes, ma'am. Pratima ma'am, over to you. You can unmute yourself, ma'am. Ma'am, you can unmute yourself. Sushil, I think you'll have to unmute her, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, you're unmuted.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Kannan, for introducing us. And it's a pleasure to be here in this panel. I know you told all the negative aspect of online teaching for pre-primary, but I would like to present a very different picture. There is always the other side of the coin. And we have already started online classes for our preschools. Of course, as Sharda ma'am said, that it was a long counseling sessions that we had to take for all the pre-primary parents. But the trust factor that ma'am spoke about, definitely it helped. And right now we have online classes for our preschools going on. We gave a 30 minutes, we started with the transition period, where we started with 30 minutes of time of the teacher and the child together. Now, let me tell you, although the parent is saying that we are sitting with the child, but this is a beautiful parent-child quality time that is being spent. A parent who never had time for the child. In fact, we used to invite the parents maybe on a Father's Day or a Mother's Day to school to spend time with the child. This is the 30-minute time that the child is spending, a quality time the child is spending with the parent. And I'm telling you, parents are so happy about it. The learning that is happening together. In fact, the parent also feels that we didn't know that these kind of things can happen. We didn't know that the child can learn through online. So I'm really telling you, it is happening beautifully. In fact, I would like to also share that the teaching strategies we had to absolutely run through, change the whole aspect of it. We came up with a lot of new strategies which will help us in connecting with the child from online classes. So teachers had to be trained minutely, I would say, specifically, I would say, which really took a long time for us. But that challenge we faced and we have come out of it, and teachers are doing a wonderful job. So it's a 30-minute of online class. Then we share a already done up video, a made up video, which a parent can show anytime. And it's working wonderfully. 2 weeks have happened now. Parents want more time because they feel that the child today is very smart. We need to understand that. Whatever we tell them, they really do it well. And if we do not, I would say, reach out to this potential of the child, then we are not really helping them. Right. I would like to, if you're okay with it, share a small 2-3 slides of the activities that are happening. You will understand what kind of activities we are doing.
Sure, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just click on slide share. Just click share screen and you can do it.
I'm not able to see the share screen.
It's down, ma'am. The down part. Participants, Q&A,
Yes.
chat, share screen.
Yes.
The green color. Yes, ma'am.
Just give me 2 minutes.
Yes, sure, ma'am. You can do it. You'll be able to do
Host has disabled the participants.
Yeah, Sushil, I think it's disabled. You can enable it, Sushil.
Otherwise, it's okay whenever I get time.
Sure.
We don't want to waste our time. But
You can share, ma'am. I'm sorry to interrupt. You can share. Just check.
yes.
Yeah, you can share. Go ahead.
So are you able to see?
Yes, ma'am. You have started the screen share has come. Yes, ma'am. Primary online activities we are able to see.
So these are the activities that are being told by the teachers. So a simple responsibility like watering the plants or helping mom, in the kitchen. So these are the kind of teaching that is happening. It's more application based, I would say. It is more on whatever is available, resources available in the house. Like in the first picture, you can see the child has made the letters of English alphabet with beans, right? So it's an activity where the child is also involved, the parent is involved, the child, you can see the happiness on each child. This third picture you can see is about the environment. We had Environment Day where the child had drawn some picture and spoke about it. So these are the beautiful activities that are going on in the school, and you can see how the child is involved. So it's not teaching per se, but it's also about lot of higher order thinking skills that are coming into picture. The yoga class that is happening, how beautifully the child is involved and she's happy doing yoga. Now, I specifically put this picture because I felt the parent involvement is very important, and I think it's been very positive about it. As I told you that initially we used to invite parents when we have physical school, we invite parents for one day, activity together, but this is the quality time that the parent is spending, and a few activities that the children are doing in school. So this is what I wanted to share with you so that all of us understand that teaching online in pre-primary is not a difficult task. It can happen, it is happening, and children are learning beautifully. Now, Sharda ma'am, you told about the child getting up and going to the balcony. I mean, giving a break, short break. Now, even when you say go to the balcony, you can always say, okay, you look out in the outside and find out how many buildings are there. Count the number of buildings and come back. Yeah, so that will make it more meaningful going out into the balcony. So that meaningful work where the resources are already there in the house and the parent is involved for 30 minutes, I think it can happen and it is happening. I wouldn't say I think, I would say definitely it is happening. Thank you so much, Dr. Kannan.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful points brought out by madam, and she's talked about parent-child quality time. And as a psychiatrist also, my wife was telling me, after marriage, this is the first 90 days I have continuously spent with her without going out anywhere. So every one of us are going through the same thing. And
Videos
I
of
think
husband and wife sharing their videos of the time spent, quality time they're spending during this time.
they're
So I
spending the
think
time during the lockdown.
that's what
Exactly.
it can happen.
Yeah, and in fact, I was also wondering how will this happen. And yesterday there was something interesting that happened in my house. There was a virtual birthday party. So they had a virtual birthday party. My wife also sat with my daughter in front of the screen, and they were giving activities. And my wife and daughter were running and doing the activities. Take a photo, bring objects with hedge color, this, that. And I was also wondering, oh my God, our whole world is changing so fast. I never even thought that much. So I think that's the way with primary. And I think one point that ma'am said that I also want to highlight, 30 minutes class with a break. That's very, very critical because children's attention span will not be there that much. And we need to give innovative activities like how beautifully ma'am was saying, yoga. And, you need to, mix the activities so that it's also engaging to the children. At the same time, it's what we call as today's term as edutainment, education with a little entertainment.
Yeah,
Then
so
only because
to
yes.
get on to language skills, maybe a storytelling, a recitation,
Storytelling,
phonetic sound. So there's so many things, as you said, a role play, a theater, anything can come into it. So teaching will
come
happen.
into it. And that's the innovation that we can bring in. Yes, beautiful, ma'am, beautiful. And I also will tell ma'am, like how ma'am said, it's a bonding for parent and child. It's a bonding that they are there because parents are also in the lockdown. There's a lot of time they spend with the child so they can learn together. And I think that's a very, very good positive also inside of this lockdown. And I'm finding that a lot of parents have now started taking responsibility, have started connecting with their kids more. This is a beautiful period of time. And I think these type of activities will be something that can engage both of them together. Wonderful.
Responsibility to the child also, it makes him feel that he's part of the family.
Exactly.
Responsibility like watering the plants or laying the table or whatever it may be, but it makes the child feel that yes, he's part of the family and he's also giving something to it.
Brilliant, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for your wonderful, wonderful inputs, ma'am. Now let's move on to Dakshayani, ma'am, who will be talking to us about, now this is for the primary kids. Now, what about the higher secondary kids? There's always the saying, can swimming be learned online? You need a swimming pool for that. At the same way, can labs, physics labs, chemistry labs, computer science labs, how do we engage children? How do we engage teachers of higher secondary to do online efficiently? And, there is this biggest fear that is happening today among all the parents. Oh my God, my son is in 10th, my son is in 12th. Will online be effective? Are we missing out on something? The FOMO, the fear of missing out on quality education. So let's talk to Dakshayani ma'am on how she, along with her experience, how she's been able to model for higher secondary kids a beautiful way to engage the children. Yes, ma'am. Over to you, Dakshayani ma'am. Ma'am, you can unmute yourself, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I think, ma'am, you can unmute yourself. Sushil, I think you'll have, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Kannan, for a nice introduction. And as always, Sharda ma'am, your story was awesome. And Ms. Pratima, thank you very much for your inputs. We are all in the same boat, Dr. Kannan. I was actually wondering, see, this online education had to happen. Probably it would have taken 10 years, 20 years. Thanks to COVID, it has taken 10, 20 days. As Sharda ma'am said, we have been just thrown into sea. And it's up to us whether we are going to swim or achieve something or, See, the most important thing that I would like to highlight here is we are very lucky that we are in India. I was reading a particular article from New York Times recently, which spoke about online education in high schools. They have given the complete data. And I always thought that America is a place where everybody is connected, everybody knows how to use internet, and online education has been very prominent there, but it said more than 70% kids are absent for high school classes. They don't log in. The name of the article, if you can search, it says all schools move online, many students stay logged out.
Yes.
And they gave the complete details that there are many areas where internet facility is not available. Kids do not have the facility of laptops or desktops at home. Many of them do not have the money. That was also a point saying that this is not. Comparing that article to what is happening in India, I felt that it is amazing to see parents completely involved and being with kids and telling them what to do and how to do. Moreover, our kids are very serious about, taking examinations, being responsible. They might be feeling bad because, first of all, during that age, they have to take out the energies in the form of physical activities. As Sharda ma'am rightly said, we are having Zumba, we are having yoga, we have online little bit of mindfulness meditation programs that could happen, which we have planned in between. With all those things, academics takes a front seat when it comes to high school students. CBSE and other boards are also doing a lot of revamping of the curriculum, saying that there will be probably 100 to 110 days of work that would happen. So the curriculum has to be reduced, and only the important points for the vertical mapping that would happen. Depending upon that, the curriculum has to be done. Next comes the teachers. Now we have teachers who are 20 years to 65 years.
Yes.
And you should actually look at them, as you rightly put it across, they have become students.
Yes.
And the best thing is there are parents and students teaching them on how to use role reversal, sometimes how to use the online tools and how to become effective. But the complete planning has to be redone, which is happening in our schools. Teachers are making different lesson plans with activities using Kahoot, using Padlet to make it interesting. Otherwise, it's not possible. And some of the doctors say that 20-20-20 rule. 20 minutes of online screen time, 20 minutes of blinking the eyes and looking at something away, which is 20 feet away, and then, coming back. So this is what teachers are trying to do, give them some activity and then, get back. Yes, it becomes a difficult thing because parents are also at home. As you rightly said, resources like laptops or, sharing the resources is very difficult. And especially when it comes to teachers, I keep on reiterating this. They're housewives. They'll have to cook and take care of the whole family. They will have to be, ready for spending that extra time for preparation. And then they will have to take the classes. With all this, they're also stressed and kids are stressed. They never can go out. We are not allowing them to even have some physical activities, sports, etc. There are things like, MHRD has started, Manodarpan. CBSE has its own counseling helpline that is there. And we also have Jammu and Kashmir has started something, Aao Baat Kare. State governments have got, all the three. So when I speak to all these kids, when they come up with issues, most of it is depression. It's very, very difficult because academics is one part of it, and teachers are doing a beautiful job in terms of higher grades. You can have presentations, you can have videos, you can have activities interspersed, and you are completing the curriculum that you have planned for in a different way. And then you have something called as office time, where kids are allowed to come back to you if they actually haven't understood anything. So these kids get back and say, ma'am, I have a doubt here. Can I get it clarified? Because it's not possible in that 40-minute time. And 15 minutes break is being given there. And parents also are there in these sessions, ensuring that kids give enough importance to it. I know, sometimes it becomes negative, sometimes it becomes positive. There were a couple of articles that came recently in leading dailies saying that teachers are being bullied by the parents, which is, I would say it is actually not true in 99% of cases. Probably 1% is what, our parents have been very, very supportive. Our students has been open. And as you said, career counseling sessions, etc. There are, different people who are doing it online. So most of it is actually happening seamlessly, except that you're stuck to a place, you don't have that physical, this thing. They're sitting in some other chair, which is not ergonomic. They have neck pain, they have shoulder pains, including teachers. There is eye dryness that is happening. All that taken, I would say that in our high schools, it's happening beautifully. And the tool that we have selected also is different for different age groups. For the lower grades, most of it is going to be visual based, where children can see every one of them on the grid. Whereas when it goes to higher grades, muting is absolutely necessary because some serious work is happening. And then, not much on visually seeing each other that's happening. So considering all these things, I would say that the teachers, students and parents have risen up to their potential, and they're trying to do the best that they can. I had two things that I wanted to cite here.
Sure.
When I was the student in IIM Bangalore, I'm an alumni of IIM Bangalore. I was told that data is very, very important, which never got into my head. Okay, I thought that data is for people who talk about, marketing and such people. That is, when I was doing my PhD, though my biotechnology part was medicinal plants of India, I was told that viruses are very important. I never gave more prominence to it because I thought that, okay, this is not my cup of tea or something I have to learn, let me learn. But both of them are becoming handy today because, the data gives you the complete picture of how efficient you're being online. When it comes to higher education, one, quality of class that is happening, students' responses, parents' feedback, and, teachers prepare all the more now because they become conscious. They are used to handling 40, 50 kids in a class, but, handling 40, 50 from 40, 50 homes, wherein everybody is looking at them and judging them, it's not easy. You will actually know it only when you go through that, and that makes them prepare all the more. So they are stressed. So having proper sessions on stress management, happiness, and mindfulness, all these have to be interspersed with the high school education, and that's what we are doing.
And what about labs, ma'am? That is just, everybody has this question. Yeah. Labs. How are the labs being able to, how are you able to compensate that? The practical classes and, so will the 10th and 12th be, how do we get them equipped? Because suddenly the exams start to come, and how do they get equipped and the confidence?
Dr. Kannan, basically two things we're looking at. We hope and pray that this is not going to be a long-term this thing, and within a couple of months we'll come back.
That's coming from a biotechnologist's mouth, so we should take it really well.
Thank you so much. That's one part. Second is we are looking at demonstrations because teachers will be allowed to come to school, wherein, they just get into the labs and have demonstrations and then live stream that. That is the possible thing. And we have some, resources given by CBSE and other areas, which are virtual labs. And we are trying to plan that and then, go ahead with it. Currently, we have started only with the theory and activities, but this is the plan, action plan that we have. But I just hope that they'll come back because, we are missing them so much.
I think all of us are missing the schools.
Yes.
And in fact, many of the parents are telling me, now only I know the value of the school because I am not able to handle one child in my house. But the school is handling so many children in a class. So that's, I think, it's the biggest prayer of all the parents also. Yes, ma'am, you want to say something?
And they have actually become teachers to some extent right now. They understand the pain of the teachers.
Yes, they are understanding the value of the teachers and the importance of teachers also. Brilliant, ma'am. Brilliant, ma'am. Thank you so much. Hearing from a biotechnologist that very soon we will be back to schools. I think that was the highlight for me as a psychiatrist. And I think a very lovely points ma'am has said, that giving them breaks, giving them multiple breaks, being a little empathetic, giving them a lot of activities. And we should also understand these are also tough times even for teachers, looking at the computer. You can imagine 5 to 8 hours, different batches. They have to bring the same energy and do it, the same enthusiasm. They have to monitor all of the children, because of lack of data, many children put off their cameras. So you don't know whether they are there, they are not there. You need to use a chat box. So I think we should really give it up for the teachers also, who in a very, very short time, like how ma'am said, 10, 15 years change, they are doing it in 10 to 15 days. So they are also putting a lot of effort and going the extra mile to take care of our children. And I think that's a really, really a great thought. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for those wonderful views. And last, we go to the Dhoni. Dhoni always comes in the end to hit the last balls of the sixth. So Chandrasekhar sir, what we are looking at, one of the things that I always say is, the administrative point of view. You're managing a chain of schools. Now you must be seeing parents of all types. Parents who praise you, parents who start criticizing, or parents who start grumbling. And I want to learn from you, sir, because there is this whole talk going on. There is a whole debate going on. A lot of people are writing in the change.org and saying, school should start only after vaccine comes. Then only we will pay the fees. Some are saying that, okay, we should pay the fees, but for online, how can we pay the same fees as offline? These are type of questions which I sometimes I feel very sad that, the teacher's work is not being appreciated in these type of talks. But I want from your perspective, sir, how has it been for you How have you been able to handle this from an administrative point of view of managing schools, managing different perspectives, different stakeholders? So I would love to know from you, sir, that is this what parents asking is justified, or is there some win-win that we can come forward, that all of us can win together in this journey of crisis and come out much, much stronger? Over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kannan. Thank you for that wonderful introduction at the beginning. And thanks to all the panelists for sharing such innovative and practical ideas, because listening to all of them, I was learning a lot. I couldn't help but write down some things which I can tell it to my principals and my teachers that, when schools are doing this, we should start focusing on that as well. Not that our schools are not doing it, but it's always good to learn. Having said that, coming to the question, yes, of course, you have touched a very strong nerve here in terms of the parents' sentiments. Well, at the outset, I would like to clear two things. Number one, my opinions today on this webinar not necessarily be of my organization, because at the end of the day, this is a very sensitive topic and it should not be painted against the brand or the name of the institution. So that's one thing, because an institution is made of many people, a lot of discussions and decisions have to happen. Second thing which I want to talk about is, I think this is an important issue which is concerning all, and I want to clarify that our parents, whether it is JGI parents or parent community at large, I think they are very understanding with many schools. As Dr. Dakshayani ma'am rightly said, one incident will catch the headline in the newspaper, but the 99% of the cases, it's not the case. It's not the case, right? I mean, the other day, 3 days ago, I read a news piece. It was very edutaining for me, in your words. One teacher in UP managed to earn more than 1 crore in a matter of 13 months by being a part of 25 schools. I mean, that doesn't mean every teacher is doing this. Right? It is just a news article which came up. So giving that as an example, I'm coming to your question. Yes, it has been a challenging time for all the parents and also to schools and to teachers. Every stakeholder is going through this. Now, there are three issues here which I see which needs to be addressed. Issue number one, about the adaptability to the new normal, whether it is from the student point of view, from the teacher point of view, from the management point of view, or from the parent point of view. I think enough has been said and spoken already about the adaptability and how we are learning every day as we are doing it. That's the number one point. The number 2 point is concerns. What are the concerns? Everybody has their concern. Maybe health concern, maybe mental wellness concern, or maybe even the financial wellness concern. Every stakeholder has their share of worries, and we need to, you put it rightly, we need to look at a win-win situation to come across this. Now let me come to the third point, which is the main point. And the main point is the school's fee justified in this new normal? Because people say it's online, and if it is happening online and I am buying a computer, I am keeping the child on my lap, I am sitting next to my child, and I am taking care of my children as a parent, why am I going to pay the fee to the school?
Exactly.
First thing we have to understand is none of us, no school in this country planned for COVID-19 to happen. Right? It's a global phenomenon. If it is affecting you, it is affecting me. Forget about me being a CEO or as a school. Forget about you being an IT employee or a manufacturer or a businessman. We are all human beings. All of us on this planet are equally affected. And when it is affecting us, two things we normally do. Either we fight it or we flight. Right? So you cannot just say, oh, this is not my problem. I'm brushing it around and then saying, I am not going to do this. You need to empathize. As the school is empathizing, I think the parents also will empathize. Let me tell you how schools are empathizing. I think, to the best of my knowledge, whether it is Karnataka, Maharashtra, Andhra, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, or Gujarat, or Chhattisgarh, wherever we operate, we know that we are not charging for transport, we are not charging for food, we are not charging for other ancillary things, which normally is a part of the school fee. The question here is the tuition fee. The tuition fee for delivering the pedagogy or the syllabus or the classes. Now here, parent community at large have to understand two things. Let me take an example of a platform which is online learning. I don't want to name anybody, but there are platforms in the world where people pay a subscription of almost 33,000 to say the least per annum. I mean, I'm not trying to name anybody here, but there are people. So If you are paying 33,000 rupees per annum to get a set of videos and to have a support call where one teacher comes once a week and clarifies your doubts all the time, and here you're comparing that model with a teacher spending time with 20, 25, 40 children live and repeating the same thing. And more than that, don't forget the personal touch. The personal touch is she will call you by your name looking at that camera. She's going to tell, okay, Rakesh, are you wanting to take a break now? Okay, give me 1 minute. I'm going to finish this and then you all can take a break now. Or Rakesh, you want to answer a question? Okay, here's a question for you. That will never happen on any automated platform. Now, parents cannot equate that to, okay, I'm learning through a computer. How is that justified paying this kind of a fee? That's the first thing. Another important thing which we need to understand here is, listen, we are all here in a temporary fix. This is not going to be like, okay, governments have not declared that no school will open up in the future. This is the end of the road for all the education institutions, and everybody is going to make this. There'll be online certification, there'll be online promotion, and there'll be online graduations. No, this is, we are all in this together and we are discovering it as we are going forward, right? Which means the children are going to come back. We hope, we pray, and we wish that they all come back as soon as possible, teachers and students. And when they come back, if a child walks up to a teacher and says, ma'am, you taught this day before yesterday online, and I didn't understand, I was not there, the network failed in my house, will you teach me again? I don't think any teacher will say, oh, that's over, that lesson has been completed and the bus has passed my child, so now you focus this. It's not going to happen. But in an online class, that's going to happen. You can go back and watch the same video 100 times, but nobody is going to come and repeat it in a different way for the same concept.
Brilliant, brilliant.
So these are the things which we need to understand. And I agree totally from the parents' point of view also that yes, they are asking it out of concern because they are also hard pressed, because there may be job losses, there may be salaries which are tuned down, there may be some financial crunch. There is always a way. I mean, we can always talk and defer the installments. I've been speaking on different forums. In fact, one thing which I suggested was there are a lot of these business models available where schools can get some kind of a liquidity gap arranged through a financing option, wherein a parent can pay monthly so that the parent did not worry about upfront depositing 3 months, 6 months, 9 months kind of a fee. So there are different ways to do it. And I'll tell you, every management is sympathetic and empathetic. Every person, principal or the CEO, is able to access parents and parents can access them. And if we have a conversation, I don't think there is any problem in this world which cannot be negotiated over conversations.
Brilliant, 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 sir. Brilliant, sir. I think that's a fantastic view given by Chandrasekhar, sir, very explaining the thing. And to add on to that, the three issues that he's spoke about, and I think these are tough times for everybody. Very beautifully said, sir. And it's also that tough times also calls for challenges, and we as parents and we should also be empathetic towards the schools. Why? I will tell you. In fact, I was having a word with a school owner, and he said, if parents don't pay the fees, I have to sell things to pay salaries, and or I have to push out all the good teachers and hire all the lower rung teachers, whoever I get. So then the quality when the children come back to the school also goes down, So we also need to be very empathetic. And also when the school starts, there's going to be enormous more expenses on cleaning. Cleanliness has to be maintained. Now you need to have non-touch water. In fact, many schools are now redoing their toilets, redoing their doorknobs, redoing so many things for social distancing. And I think we as parents also should be a little empathetic with the children and the schools. And I also truly, truly believe if it's a possibility that you can pay, you should pay. If not, there are a lot of deferred payments, a lot of schools, and if there are genuine concern, the problem arises when everybody starts saying that they want to defer. Then the real genuine people don't get that benefit, so that goes up. Yes, Chandrasekhar.
Just to add, I mean, parents should not think, or anybody should not think schools have only salaries to take care of. Right?
Exactly.
It is one of the expenditure. Tell me one thing. Forget about the schools who own their lands and who own their campuses. They have a different set of problem. I will not even address that. That's not the majority of Indian schools. Majority of Indian schools, I'm talking of Telangana, 10,000 low-cost private schools function here in Telangana. Now, all these schools are functioning in rented premises. Now, the landlord is not going to say, oh, COVID came, so don't pay me rent.
Exactly.
Right? Now, that is a big expenditure. In fact, if you look at the balance sheets, at least 35 to 45% of the income goes towards servicing the rents of these buildings, right? And that's not going to go away. They may try to be calm and patient with you for 3 months, 6 months, but at the end of the day, you got to pay it. And that is one. Second thing is, look at the statutory requirements. I mean, your EPF, your ESI, your electricity, your water, your even buses. You may think buses are not running, but maintaining a standing bus is more costlier than running a bus. I mean, it's like an aircraft. Aircraft is gone when it is parked. You have to keep it flying. Same as with an automobile. We all know it. Every day, every 7 days, we go down, switch on the car, sit in the car for 15 minutes, make sure that the battery is charged and come back. That's what we do. So it's not just the salary. Salary is a big important part because it has life impact. But at the same time, others are also important. So we need to do a win-win.
Yes, exactly. And I think win-win is the need of the hour today. That if we can all have that win-win attitude and we can really start to really energize, and this is a time we need to support each other. And I think very beautifully, Chandrasekhar sir, through all his experience, has said this very, very beautifully, how we need to synergize together and how we need to work with the school. Please understand, this is for all the parents who are here in this talk. Schools are our partners. It's not me or you. It is me and you together for your children. It's Mata, Pita, Guru. Guru is in the third. So I think that is something that we should do. And if you look at the Ramayana, you look at many of our historical texts, they used to give everything for the generation, for our Gurukul system. They used to give lands and everything to the Gurukul system. That was how teachers were revered in this country. And I think COVID has really taught the parents the value of teachers and schools also. I truly believe that. And I think that's something that has beautifully come out inside of this. And I think if we as institutions can start doing that, then that is where we start come together as one family. Brilliant, Chandrasekhar sir. Thank you so much, sir. And now we'll just go to a small rapid fire where I would like to ask everybody. The first question, I'd like to give 2 points from everybody I would like to get. The first question that I'd like to ask is, what are the things that we should look out for or not do in an online virtual schooling? What are the don'ts of an online virtual schools? So what are the things don't? So say, for example, as a psychiatrist, I truly believe the don't is the parents sitting and pondering on the children when online is going. And, one of the things that I saw was the parents sitting and judging the teacher. Oh, the teacher is good. No, this teacher was better than that teacher. No, the child is also confused. In fact, one child called and told me, sir, please open this lockdown so that my parents can go for work. Then only I can sit and learn online classes properly. So let me ask all of you. Sharda ma'am, we'll start off with you, ma'am. What do you think are the things that, we should be careful of in online, the don'ts? What are those points that you would like to give? 2 points, ma'am. Quick.
2 points. See, one thing I tell you is, as you said, that parent peeping over the shoulder. That should stop. Are you able to hear me? Am I audible?
Yes. Okay. We are able to hear you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the first thing is that the peeping over the shoulder from the parent must stop. That is the most important. Second thing is, normally in this kind of a scenario where online is happening, the teacher monitoring the reluctant learner is most important. That is the do. Okay. How to monitor a reluctant learner, because every school, every class will have a reluctant learner, not because the child doesn't want to learn, but the child, we did not touch that particular chord, because there is a differential learning part of it should be taken care. And sometimes some teachers may forget how to take it up.
Ma'am, I think you need to keep your speaker a little more higher, ma'am.
1 minute. I think I will. Yeah, now I'm audible. Yes.
Now it's clear.
Yeah. So the first thing the teacher should adopt is a differential teaching mode, even online, so that she can track the reluctant learner. That is the most important to do. The important don't for a parent is to peep over the shoulder. These are the first important do and don't. The second important do for everybody is that a small story. Quickly I tell. It seems all the farmers were, Lord Indra was very upset with all the farmers. So he said that no rains for 12 years. When there were no rain for 12 years, they were very upset. They went and asked Indra, what can we do? So Lord Indra said, okay, I'm okay with you, but already I have given the curse. If Shiva plays his Damru, then I will give you the rains. So then he told Shiva, no, I want to teach a lesson. So please don't play the Damru. So when these people, when Shiva said, no, I cannot play the Damru for 12 years only, I will play only once in 12 years. So they all went back. Then they all sat, except one man who started tilling his land irrespective of the rain. So in the second year, everyone asked, I believe, why are you doing this? He said, I believe rain or no rain, in 12 years, I should not forget my work. So I will do it so that it's a practice I am doing. So then Parvati heard this and asked Shiva, I believe if you play it only once in 12 years, definitely you will forget how to play. Then Shiva said, I believe, no, I never forgot to play. You listened to it, he took and he played. The moment he played, the rain came, and only the man who has tilled his land got the crop. So now I want this story to go as a something to do to everybody, the parent, the child, the teacher, that do not leave your core competencies. Keep practicing it. Keep practicing it, that because there will be a day that we are coming back to normalcy. So the do is that make the child ready for the transition. We did not make him ready for online, offline to online. But now online to offline practice must be given. That is the most important to do. And the most important don't for the parent is that please do not nitpick. Please understand that we are partners, and in this partnership, we understand the problem you have. You also understand the problem we have. Very rightly said by Dr. Chandrasekhar that the salaries are not the only thing. They are only a part of it. We have million under expenditures. So do not question every second day that I am doing this job. So what are you doing? I am doing million jobs which I cannot share on screens or with anybody. So this is what the don't for the parent. Third important don't for teacher and parent. Do not judge people. Please.
Exactly.
They are all human beings, and it's okay to make mistakes. We will learn from mistakes. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful, ma'am. Yes, Pratima, ma'am. What would you like to add on, ma'am? Pratima, ma'am, you can unmute yourself, ma'am. Ma'am, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
So, what I would like to say is, for the parents especially, do not force, because I saw these questions right now in the question answers column. Do not force the child to take on the classes if he is not or she is not interested. Initially, maybe the child may not look at the screen, but slowly and steadily, when he sees that something is happening and he is not participating and he can see his friends there, maybe he will join in. But do not force the child to take up something which he is not interested in the beginning. Slowly, yes, he will do it. Second point I would like to tell the teachers is, for the teachers, this is actually what I have seen when the classes are happening is, the clarity of instruction should be there.
Exactly.
Teachers talk too many things. They're used to talking a lot in the classroom. You know, okay, take out your bag, keep this in, and then open this notebook, blah, 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 all those kind of things. But here in online classes, they should be very, very clear, short sentences and clear instructions. I think that will really help the children also to understand what is happening. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, Dakshani, ma'am. You can unmute yourself, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. I think Sharda ma'am and Pratima ma'am have actually told what I wanted to. Something that I really wanted to tell you, for parents basically, do not compare the teachers. When you're sitting there along with your kids and looking at how teachers are performing, this is a new thing for them. They are trying to do their best in usage of technology. Second, if you have something good, express it. If you have some feedback which is not good, kindly email it. Please do not make a public comment or put them down, because they are struggling, and all of us are struggling, including you. We are all struggling. So let us support each other and do the best, because they are good at pedagogy. They're experts in pedagogy. Technology is their weakness, our weakness, including me. So this is one thing that you need to take care of. For children, children are going through a lot of stress. My advice would be regular, be prompt, have a structured day, because in online classes definitely are going to be setting your structure for the day. Otherwise, I think first 10-15 days during COVID, all of us slept off whatever time we want, whatever time we got up. So that is actually coming in. Have a lot of physical exercises. Please participate. Have a routine of exercise, which is very, very important for you. We're all there. Anytime you can call us, we are there to support you. Please do that. Don't get into bed and most of the time sitting at a place. Don't do that. And for the teachers, I have something to say. Please never feel helpless. You are the best. That's the reason we have selected you. You are teaching those grades only because of your capability. What I want you to do is to understand it's okay to fail. If one class doesn't happen because mic doesn't work, internet connection is not there, doesn't matter. We're all doing whatever best we can. I know you are a clan, we are a clan who will do anything for our children. And we understand that. Please never blame yourself for things that we do not know. Okay?
I would like to add on, ma'am. Yes, we are all in the process of learning. But if we learn fast, if we work towards it, definitely the teacher who has glitches in the initial stages will become a wonderful online teacher later on. So, yes,
when I look at
we
that,
need to learn and we need to adapt also.
Absolutely. When I look at my language teachers, my heart goes to them because other teachers were at least using some things, but these teachers, language, dance, sports, and music teachers, they're doing an awesome job. And that's what I want to appreciate. Keep up the good work. We're all there in the same boat and everybody understands each other.
Brilliant, brilliant, ma'am. I think very, very valid points that have been brought out by the three of them on what are the downs in the online. And I think we as parents also should give that space. You know, we are also adapting. They are also adapting. And I'm sure that the commitment and that you can never say put down the commitment of these wonderful human beings called teachers. You know, they are standing up, they're learning, they're readapting. In fact, irrespective of the age, they are readapting. They are knowing how to do it, how to use the camera, how to use it. So that little bit leverage, I think we all should be giving to them, and so that they can come up with all those wonderful things. And last, let's have Chandrasekhar sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think after all these three people have said do's and don'ts, there is no don'ts or do's left. But I would like to take the different perspective. What are the do's and don'ts for schools?
Okay, brilliant.
Because that's also important when parents, teachers, and children are covered. Of course, from the school's perspective, there are certain don'ts which we should not do. I think the first don't, which I think strongly, is schools should never stop communicating. Whatever it is. I mean, whatever it is, whether you have internet, you don't have internet, you have anything, any issue, please communicate. Whether it is an email or a message or a phone call, please communicate. Never stop communicating. Because what happens, once you stop communicating, it leads to assumptions. And once assumptions come in, it becomes conflict.
Exactly.
That's the chain. That's the chain. We need to stop that by communicating frequently. In fact, during crisis, more communication is less. More communication is less. You need to communicate, but have the same line of communication. Just because we are communicating doesn't mean anybody and everybody will speak anything and everything. You should have a same line of communication. So that's the first thing. The second thing from the school's perspective is have patience, because as much as you are ready, I mean, it's like this, right? I will tell you my example. March 22nd, the government here said no schools, closed down, everything, nobody is going to come to school. March 27th, we were ready with our online classes.
Oh, wow.
Okay, but parents are not ready. Children are not ready. Teachers were not ready. The management is ready. Okay, I can go online, because at the end of the day, for us, what we were thinking is, if not this, it is that. If not that, it is something else. That's a perspective of a doer. That's a perspective of a person who will deliver and get things. But that's not the perspective of a person who is used to receiving things. I mean, teachers were used to receiving instructions. What do we do? What is that? Should we do? And now when something has hit them in their face, they are wondering what is going to happen. What is this corona? What is this COVID? Why schools are not working? How does that, when I shake hand with somebody, the virus is going to come to me? That 7 days, they were all thinking that. And in that time, if I as a school say, okay, guys, come on, go back online, come up and start teaching, it's not going to work. We need to have patience. We need to have patience and then start first educate our stakeholders and then deliver the value. So for example, from the entire month of April, from 1st of April to 30th of April, what we did is we did the teacher training. Every day, 3 hours, teachers were made to give lessons to us. Like 150 people are online and one teacher is teaching her subject. The remaining 140 people are learning that lesson. Doesn't matter whether you are a language teacher, whether you are a PET, it really does not matter. So once they understand how to see 25 people on the screen, how to pick up people, mute, unmute, all of that, then they're in a better position to handle this. So patience, perseverance, these are the things which matter. Last point I would like to tell you is, I mean, look at today, 11 o'clock on a Sunday in the heart of a lockdown. Okay, today is the last day of the lockdown. Tomorrow onwards, things are opening up. Even today on a Sunday, the last day of a lockdown, look at the fresh faces on the screen. Look at the way they have got ready and they have come and sat in front of you to meet people. There may be 2,000 people or 600 people, but that's how you present yourself. The problem is, because of this lockdown, Dr. Rakshani ma'am and Madam Sharda also covered it. We have tried to become too complacent. Oh, everything will be fine. We get up at some time, wake up, eat something or do something. But that is okay as adults. We know how to balance at one point in time. What about children? I mean, today I've been talking to some of the people. The biggest problem is vitamin D deficiencies have started up. Children are not going out, which is a known fact. There is no enough water intake. I say every class you put a water bell, tell them, come on, where is your water bottle? Sip a couple of sips of water. These are things which are important, because at the end of the day, now the days are gone where I'm doing only one thing. The one thing was, I'm a maths teacher, I'll teach maths. No, you are now an all-rounder. You have to be a technology, I don't say expert, but at least comfortable with technology. You have to be a good communicator. You have to be a good motivator, a good mentor, and also an empathetic leader. All of these things has to happen, and everybody has to do this. Otherwise, this is not going to happen. And let me tell one more thing and conclude. Hybrid school model, whether you like it or not, has already come to the world. And this is going to happen. Because today we are thinking, let us come back to normalcy. But the minute we come back to normalcy, parents and stakeholders and society is going to put pressure on you, saying, when 2020 it happened, why can't it happen in 2024? Why can't my child sit at home and learn from you? Then what is the answer of the schools? Then what is the answer of a teacher? So never we should think this is a passing cloud. Let us just enjoy and then be happy with it. And then once the situation hits again, we'll think about it. No. Whatever investment in learning, in preparation and practice we are doing, think long term. Think for future, because this is going to stay for at least next 20, 25 years. It may become better, it may evolve, but this is the new normal.
Wonderful. Wonderfully put, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Brilliantly put. So we'll now take some questions, sir. One question is coming from Pavitra. She says the long gap from school, her daughter has lost interest in writing. Though I make her sit and read and write continuously, she has lost the interest, and in online classes, she's may not be doing the writing activity very well. So what I would love, Pratibha ma'am, you'd like to answer that? What can she do to now, involve that writing thing? Because writing, you'll have to hold the pen, you'll have to write it, you'll have to put that thing. The parents are not able to do it properly. I think that's a pain point with a lot of kindergarten and the first, second, third standard parents. So, Pratibha ma'am, if you would love.
So I would suggest, as I told before, do not force the child at any given point of time. The more you tell the child that do it, the more he will be, moving out of it. So it's better that take your time, let the child settle down, just give him maybe something to color or draw, which he's interested in, or maybe browse through storybooks or whatever it may be, but do not force the child to do anything that he or she does not want to do it, because it will lead to, in fact, the negative aspect of it. That is why your child is stopped writing and doesn't want to do that work. Doesn't matter, you talk to the teacher concerned. If the teacher is saying that the child has to finish the homework today and submit it tomorrow online or whatever it is, I think I would suggest you speak to the teacher concerned or speak to the authorities concerned and tell them that this is what is happening, and please give my child some time to get over this. That would be my suggestion.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think along with that, I can just give one strategy as a psychiatrist that I use with my daughter. What I did was very simple. I just have a heart-to-heart conversation with her. I wanted her to do multiplication tables, and she was refusing to do because she's considering this as holidays. So I just told her, listen, I will not force you, but I will just, we had a one-to-one conversation. We came to a win-win agreement. I'll just show this camera around for you. on her own without me telling. She wrote down all the multiplication tables, put it up as ticket notes, and every day she makes it a point to go through that, revise it every single day, and then share with me that. So I think we should just look at our children as partners rather than blaming them. They are also going through tough times. And I think that's very beautifully put by Pratibha ma'am, that we need to look at them as partners and start to build that relationship with them as partners. Now for Sharda ma'am.
Dr. 1 minute. This communication part, it's not only with the primary or pre-primary children. I think with communication with their children who are teenagers.
Exactly.
Is also very important aspect that we need to talk about, where the child is going through so many changes and the child is unable to meet his peers, because at this point of time his peers are very important. So how does the parent connect with the teenager? So that communication has to be built up. Brilliant. So communication skill or communication at this juncture, whether it is from the school side, whether it is from the management side, whether it is from the teacher side or the friend side, it has, or the parent side, it has to be really, really at a high level.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. And Sharda ma'am, I would also like your views on this, ma'am, if you'd like to add on to it.
As far as
there is this one question, ma'am, I would like to ask you with your experience. My child is getting addicted to mobile. So now already he's addicted to mobile. Now with this online education, he's fully addicted to mobile officially. Now, how do I, when offline starts, how do I bring him out? The same
you asked such a nice question. Yesterday only, I was talking to my counselor. So she wanted to send one questionnaire to parents. So in that, this is one of the things, and she said that do not associate online classes with the whatever other activities the child is doing. Number one is that all of us are addicted to mobiles, irrespective of COVID. Yeah, irrespective of COVID, all of us are, and I don't know, even sitting in the crowd, people will be looking at their mobiles and all. This is another pandemic, actually, we should say that, okay, we are in. Now, as far as the child is concerned, first of all, a lot of interaction between the parent and the child must happen, and that also to the child's energy level. It is not our energy level. I have a grandson of 5 years old, and I see the way my husband and my grandson play. I'm not saying I'm playing. It is my husband who plays. And across the house, they build the bridges. And as long as my husband is there, this fellow doesn't ask for the mobile. The moment my husband goes, immediately he says, give me a mobile. Why am I saying this is happening is that all of us are busy in our own work and we are not matching his energy. Whereas my husband is matching his energy. This is what every parent should do. That the child has a lot of energy. Keep the online classes, offline class aside. First of all, match the energy. Give a schedule. This is your screen time. Reminding all we will be there together. It's very difficult, easy to say I have become grandmother, so I can give all the lot of discourses, but it is the parent who has to say that, face that. I know that. But fortunate when the whole lot of you are very young and when you are growing, we never had this problem. So that's a different one. But now the parents have to put that, and they also have to hide their mobiles. That is the only way we can solve. And then only they will come to the online class of 30 minutes, not more than that.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful. Thank you so much, ma'am. I think that's wonderful points. And I'd love to have now Dakshayani, ma'am, to answer this question. How do we do assessments? How are assessments being done online? So everybody is teaching online. Now parents are also worried, is my son learning or daughter learning? So what would you suggest on how can schools or even parents look at how they assess how much the child has absorbed inside of this, So what are the tools and techniques you're using, ma'am? If you can unmute yourself and speak, ma'am. Ma'am, you can just unmute yourself. Sushil, can you unmute her for her?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
This is one of the questions all higher grade parents keep on asking me. How is that I know that my child has learned? See, most of the times what we are doing right now is a little bit of online assessment. You have a lot of apps that can be done, Google Form, Microsoft Form. All of that is being used, and short 30-second questions, MCQs, are being given to them to understand where they are. It's not to judge them, but to understand if they're learning or, they're going to. Writing is another issue which you already spoke about. Children will not be able to write long answers right now. That's not happening. We are trying to give them projects and make them take classes. I think that's the best way to make them learn. They themselves take the topics, they prepare themselves well, and then they deliver the lecture to this, fellow mates. That's happening beautifully. The only thing that we are looking at is probably we are giving them binders for them to work on it, etc. But it is only MCQs and online tests that we are concentrating. As Dr. Chandrasekhar said, we are praying that they come back as fast as possible.
Everybody is praying.
Yeah. And we can make them do it. But currently we feel that the mental ability of the child and keeping his emotions in control.
So in that context, there's a question also I wanted to ask you, ma'am. Do you have to again teach the online stuff that you have taught? Will it again be taught offline, or is it over? What is done online is done online, and offline will be.
It is not over. It is not over. Okay. See, we are selecting all those topics which lends itself to the online mode. And secondly, we are always open for them. Once they come back, there will be a thorough revision, and we will definitely be teaching it. It doesn't mean that they can skip these classes. Okay. But along with that, they will definitely have another opportunity to learn the way they want to learn. Yeah?
Brilliant, brilliant. And wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much. And Chandrasekhar sir, from a management perspective, online classes are happening. 50 to 100 teachers are teaching. How do you monitor how your teachers are doing? Because you have online, you can't be going to every online class and looking and managing. So how is it that you as an administration are managing? Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think it's an interesting question. In fact, this question was in front of us when we were gearing up to launch the online classes. So I will just share what we exactly did and we are doing, so that maybe that can be learning rather than giving some answer from the book. The first thing is we divided the entire process of monitoring into pre, during and post. So when I say pre, during and post, what we meant was pre-planning or pre-phase was, okay, these are the number of classes, these are the number of subjects, these are the number of teachers, this is how it is going to happen, this is the scheduling part, and these are the people who are going to do it. And then one important thing we did is we standardized. We standardized a lot of things, be it the template in which the presentation is going to be put up, so that exactly we know what is going to be seen by the child. So there is a clarity, there is a kind of a simplicity when the teachers are presenting their content to the children. So the standardization was done. Second, somebody already mentioned on this panel discussion that, certain things which I think Pratima ma'am said that, and that is true. Certain things which you normally do in the class cannot be done online, like close your books, sit down here and move. So we had to actually take the teachers through an unlearning process that, these are the things which you are talking, and only focus on this. Keep your sentences short, keep your sentences pointed. So that's the pre-phasing of it, planning of that. Now coming to the during. So we have a team of academic people, academic auditor, academic director, and other people, including the principals who are there. So randomly, they will be logging in to one of the class and they will be there. They may not be there for the entire 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but they'll be there for a few minutes and they will kind of notice what is happening and come out. But it's humanly impossible to monitor 400, 500 classes over a period of 1 week. It's not practical. And I mean, it will lead to a lot of other issues. So they'll kind of mix up things in their head. Whose class did I watch? What was she telling? It's not going to happen like that. So we monitor it randomly. And the third thing, that is post, continuous training, continuous telling people that it's like, okay, somebody attended my class and I did a blunder. Fair enough. But the person who is going to come back, post and talk and give feedback is not going to take my name. But the mistake is removed, the lesson is captured. And that lesson is shared to people saying that, you know what, some of you may encounter these kind of challenges. And when you encounter such kind of thing, for instance, you have to handle it this way. I think that's the only way. You need to keep training and motivating and monitoring it. Then you become better. Nobody is perfect and nobody can claim to be perfect. So these are the things which we are doing to monitor online classes. And one piece is immediate feedback from the children. So we are very connected. So we also get some feedback from children and from parents saying that, this was there, this was there. So keep your ears open, listen to them. Don't argue, don't get into a confrontation mode. Listen and say, okay, we'll look into it, we'll get back. If there is genuinity, give them a response back. If there is nothing, look at them and say, listen, we have seen into it, that's not what it is, we are taking care of it.
Brilliant, 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 sir. So empathy, empathy, and empathy. I think that's what is more important, and trust. That we need to trust them, and they will also start to eventually trust us, and we are in this together. Brilliant, sir. Brilliant points brought out. And with this, we are almost coming to the end of this session. So before we go, I'd like to have a last point from all of them. Just a last take-home message to all the parents, the educators who are inside of this forum. I would like this from everybody. We'll start with Sharda ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Your last take-home message. Quick.
Quickly, I would like to say that it's a tsunami we are in. So please float, do not get drowned. And this is going to become the new norm of life. And we will be living with this kind of whatever learning is going to happen. As Dr. Chandrasekhar said, that once it happens, then people will know that it can happen. So let us be ready for the change and be ready for change. That's
Brilliant. Wonderful, wonderful, ma'am. Pratima ma'am.
According to me, yes, challenges are always there. And this is the challenging time. And I think we have already come up to the level that, yes, we are facing the challenges, and we are going to face the challenges in future, because we don't know what the future holds. If today it is tsunami of COVID, maybe tomorrow there is something else. So we need to upgrade ourselves. We need to work together, because collaboration, communication, all these are together, and we move forward. The journey is long. The journey is forever.
Wow,
and
wonderful.
Learning is forever. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful, ma'am. And thank you so much, ma'am. And Dakshayani, ma'am, we'd like to hear from you as a principal educator and also as biotechnologist. Take home message.
I think this is a time which has been set for our learning. As I said, all of us are together. We have got plenty of time with our families. All the time we used to crib that I don't have time for my children, my spouse, my family. We have all the time in the world. Make the best use of it, support each other, understand each other, be there with each other, not only with your family, but also with your teachers, with your school, because anything that can be done only together. Individually, we cannot be doing anything. Let us support each other, help each other. And this is going to be there. And, hope that another pandemic is not going to happen, as somebody mentioned. But it is leading us into the future, because now it has emerged out of the schools. Education has come out of the schools. It has burst out of the schools, and that's going to be the norm. So all co-curricular activities, counseling sessions, all that can happen in the building. But teaching, academics can also happen online. That's what we've learned. And as Dr. Chandrasekhar said, this hybrid model is going to be staying with us, and we should be ready for it. Thank you so much.
Wow, wonderful, 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 ma'am. And she's given us hope also that it will go off fast. As a biotechnologist, I can take that, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And yes, sir, Chandrasekhar, sir, your last views.
Well, I think first I'll start by saying I have learned lovely things from all of you. Ma'am, Sharda ma'am, both the stories are fantastic. I'm going to keep them with me forever. And some of the points, data and virus, these are also very important points as shared by Dr. Dakshayani ma'am. And Pratima Sinha ma'am, the activities, the innovation, what you shared through slides, fantastic. And Dr. Kannan, the way you knit all of us together when we were trying to go in different tangents and trying to bring them together and deliver value is evident in the chat box, the way your attendees are responding. But towards the end, if I have to say only one thing, I think the world is going through a global crash course. A global crash course in everything, how not to do things and how to do new things. So I think if I have to pull out a formula from this crash course, I think this is unlearn, relearn, and keep learning. That's it. You have to forget what you did in January 2020. You have to remember what you're doing today. And then you be ready to do something differently tomorrow.
Exactly.
That's it. That's the one thing which I would like to tell towards the end as a closing comment.
Wow, brilliant. Learning, unlearning, relearning, and I would say relearning. Provided biotechnology and data-wise, we don't have another virus coming. So that's the new normal, and I think we are coming to the end. And last, I would like to, end with a small thing. I think, if the same pandemic would have happened 35 years back, this discussion wouldn't have even been there. Because we never had something called internet. Probably in Doordarshan, they would have had that one introduction on what could be a TV education. It would have been TV schooling. That could have been the one it was there. So today are changing times, and changing times require changing mindsets. I repeat, changing times require changing mindsets. And when changing mindsets happen, only changing skill sets will happen. And when you have changing skill sets with adaptability, and that's where I say, as emotional quotient, intelligence quotient, social quotient, today you should have adaptability quotient. How well you are able to adapt to the current changing times, to adapt yourself to the new normal, and then what is the new normal? Yeah. So I always say this on paradigms. When you wear a blue glass, everything looks blue. When you wear a green glass, everything looks green. So you need to also not know that what glass you're wearing. You should also know what glass the other person on the other side is also wearing. Because everyone's paradigms are different, everyone's aspirations are different. But in spite of all that, we need to come together as one global family to empower our children. That is the most important takeaway, be it the beautiful story shared by Sharda ma'am, be it the way she integrated storytelling into it. I think that's a great lesson for all of us as educators and parents. Are we inculcating storytelling in our own lives? And I think that was beautifully brought about by Sharda ma'am, be it Pratibha ma'am talking about the simple innovations, from yoga activity, going out to the balcony and counting the buildings. Simple things, the joy is in those simple things. If we can build those simple things into our system with our children, engaging those children, beautifully brought about Pratibha ma'am. And Dakshayani ma'am, very well with her expertise in biotechnology, also brought out a beautifully how for higher grade children, be it their stress management, inculcating a little mindfulness, giving them a little break. All of that are so essential when you actually deliver an online class, and being non-judgmental of each other, giving the time to come out to each other. In fact, I could feel that motherly feel in her that, she's missing the children so much and waiting for children to again come back. I think that's what we are all about, educators, yes or no? Because we are the ones who see these children. And I think we as parents also need to respect our education and educators for coming out with this and standing for our children. And Chandrasekhar sir very beautifully bringing his management background and speaking very specifically about how we can manage the school, how we can manage the emotions, how we can build all of them together, how to build trust, which is very important. I tell you, trust is the currency of the 21st century. It's who you trust and who trusts you that determines what you become in your life. And I think if that could be one take-home message, let all of us together start to trust our schools, trust our teachers. And as teachers, let's start to trust our students that yes, they will come out, they will come out. And I think, one of the most beautiful things in Stephen Covey says always, a true education is identifying the worth and potential of every human being and communicating and inspiring them to become that great human being they are. So if we can start doing that, be it online or offline, bringing them and inspiring the children, inspiring the greatness inside of children, be it online or offline, and bring it into a blended learning model, I think it will be win-win for all of us, win-win for all of us to generations to come. And I always say this, for 4 years or 5 years down the line, when we look at the coronavirus pandemic, once we have crossed over the bridge, we look back at, I think every one of us should say that was a life-defining moment and we came out of it strong, we came out of it together, and we came out of it empowered. That should be the aim. And with that, I would like to conclude this entire session by thanking all of you all. So before we go, I'd like all of you to type out on the chat box. How did you all like the session? Did you all love the session? Yes or no? Come on, everybody. Type out on the chat box your one biggest learning from the lesson. And what did you learn from all of these wonderful panelists? I think all 4 of them are legends in their field who have come out over here, spend an entire Sunday morning with us. I think they've given priceless values, priceless. Yeah, I mean, if any of you would have gone through the session, priceless values you have got in spite of all of them. Yes. Thank you. Loved it. Oh, wow. Beautiful. Awesome. Excellent. Loved it. Wonderful session. Brilliant. Awesome. Oh, wow. Great. Let's give a kudos to all of those 4 educators. Come on, everybody. Let's give a kudos to all of those 4 educators for coming out and bringing this out so beautifully. I mean, look at the chat box. Excellent. Kudos. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much to each one of you. Thank you to Sushil. Thank you to Unacademy for giving us this chance and opportunity. And I think bottom of our heart, I want to thank each of you in educators
for bringing this difference inside of all the child. And I'd like to conclude with one statement I live my life with. I live my life with just one statement. When you come into the world, you're not going to you didn't bring anything. When you go out of this world also, you're not going to take anything. In between the small journey of life, if we can create lovely relationships, lovely connections, and help each other by creating lovely memories, I think that will be a life well lived. Thank you all, and God bless all of you all for coming over here and do this. Over to you, Sushil. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much for the panelists and to everybody from an academy. Actually, Doctor, I just want to tell you this, that on the YouTube platform, there's this comment which I just saw. How much energy does this guy have and what is his age? So can you please comment on that? So, well, thank you so much, Doctor. You've been amazing. Thank you so much, all the panelists. Well, I just like to tell everybody on the Unacademy platform, so it's actually coming live everywhere on Facebook and YouTube, that we are also going to be having all these educators speak individually, obviously, if they agree to all this. So we're going to be talking through the Unacademy platforms as to what are they doing with respect to virtual decoding of their particular school life. So I'm just going to be quickly introducing you to a new chapter that we're going to be starting off with Unacademy, which is the master class. So it's going to be there with Chandrasekhar sir first, and the topic here is here. So I'll just quickly tell you the topic. The first one is right here, and yep, so that's the one. It's how to get success in school and after graduating. It's on Tuesday, happening from 4 p.m. onwards on the Unacademy app. So I would request everybody to just go back and just probably tell it to your parents, to your teacher, to all your teachers in the school, to their children. It's absolutely free. So again, I've been doing all these master classes for all the children, for the teachers, for the parents, these webinars wherein we are doing much more. I would request everybody to just download the app and you're going to be seeing this right over there. So thank you so much again, Dr. Kannan, for being with us here. It's the masterclass which is happening on the Unacademy app, and obviously, yes, we want you to kind of come there and probably build up the energy like always. So thank you once again, guys. Yes, if you are going on the Unacademy app and you're going to be watching this masterclass, it's coming on Tuesday. I'll just quickly put this up once again for you guys. There it is. So it's on Tuesday at 4 p.m. on the Unacademy app. Please download. Thank you so much, everybody. Once again, thank you so much for the panelists to be here. And yes, we are going to be back again very soon. Thank you so much to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
I just request Chandrasekhar sir to please talk about the masterclass that he's going to be doing and what he's going to be exactly doing in this particular session. Chandrasekhar sir, just 2 minutes before I let you go. I'm sorry, it's a Sunday, I understand.
All right. Okay, so as it's already announced that the masterclass is scheduled for Tuesday at 4 p.m. And in my personal experience, I've understood that it's one thing to know the knowledge from the books, but it's the other thing to one, apply it, and two, to look at things around you and then try to take it forward in life. In fact, just to share a small experience from my past, in 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago to be precise, we took a contingent of 25 children to the Everest Base Camp. We did not know that this is a world record feat till we entered the Everest Base Camp boundary. And then we realized that it's a world record feat. 25 children going and achieving this, never before in the entire world. It became a great record, but that's not what is important. What is important is the learning which the children took by doing that record. Let me give you one example. 7-year-old boy was the youngest on the contingent. His name was P. Samanyu, and he went on to take mountaineering as his professional career at the age of 8. And today he's 9, and he has already completed 2 feats. One is the Mount Kanchenjunga, Kilimanjaro, and the other one is Kazakuo. So these 2 mountains he has achieved, and now he also won the President's Award for the Bal Puraskar on the 26th of January, Republic Day. So the idea here is, how can we become successful in schools? That's my topic. And also, how can we become or continue to be successful after graduation? So these are the things which I'm going to share in my masterclass. It's a 1-hour masterclass targeted at children, especially between 9 to 12, that is grade 9 to grade 12. But at the same time, anybody and everybody can access because it's a free forum and it's a free platform. I want to thank Unacademy. I want to thank Sushil for creating this opportunity where I can share my experiences and learnings so that all of us can taste that success in the school and after graduating. So see you all on the masterclass Tuesday at 4 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So